Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Ajani Domville, Digital Media Officer for Newport Person. And tonight we'll be doing our digital training session on Irish potato production and productivity. Our presenter this evening is Mr. Nigel Panton, agronomist for Zone 2 at St. Catherine, St. Anne, and Clarendon. We do hope you enjoy this presentation. Now, over to you, Mr. Panton.
Good afternoon, farmer. Thank you very much for that introduction, Johnny. Tonight we'll be looking at Irish potato. For those of the farmers who have cultivated the crop before, they would have an appreciation that we are coming to the start of the Irish potato season. You know, the Irish potato season is normally during the rainy season or in the winter. So most of our farmers have begun land prep and started procuring fertilizers and pesticide and awaiting the seeds. So what we want to go through tonight is just some best practices, some intricacies, how we can increase our production and at the same time increase our productivity, which is also very important. So we'll be going through a few topics, and I would implore to you to get a little notepad, make some notes, make some jotting, because I'll be going over some pertinent information which you might need to write down just in case your memory doesn't get everything. So we'll start by looking at some historical data. So we know Irish potato is one of those crops that is a lot of it is imported. Most of the Irish potato consumed by Jamaica is imported. Last season, which is last year, we had a very I would say most of the Irish potato crop farmers had a crop that didn't went so well. For more than one reason, mainly because of the weather. And as I said, Irish potato is a crop that depends heavily on rainfall. So once you have a drought in the Irish potato season, then you realize that the yields start to take a nosedive, and also the quality of the tubers. So last year we didn't have such a favorable weather condition, and we find out that a lot of the farmers were negatively affected when you talk about areas that Manchester, St. Anne, St. Catherine, St. Mary, those areas that are known for growing Irish potato. They didn't get enough rainfall, and as a result, they didn't did so well in terms of yield. So what we'll be starting with tonight is how do you grow Irish potato? So first, you want to look at the site selection. We'll be looking at land preparation. It is very important because the success in any crop at all, not just Irish potato, starts from land prep. So the better your land prep, you have started securing a good yield. Drainage, as I said, the Irish potato is grown in the rainy season. So once you have persistent rainfall, you want to ensure that you have proper drainage. We'll be looking at precise nutrient management systems. That is our flagship here at Newport First Son. We'll be looking at the 4 R's of nutrient management. And of course, we'll be looking at the improved blend that we have tested and proven for Irish potato. So let's move right along. So site selection. One of the main important parameters that you check for when you are selecting the site for Irish potato is temperature. If you look at most of the areas that grow Irish potato, one of the recurring decimal that you will see is that most of those areas are elevated. And what you can appreciate is that once you start go up, once you start go in elevated areas, you realize that the temperature start to fall. So Irish potato is one of those crops that is very temperature sensitive. So it is not by chance that the Irish potato seasons fall in the rainy season, because normally once you start approaching late September, October, straight back until January, February, you realize that the temperature start to fall, and that is exactly the historically the Irish potato season. So you want to ensure that your site, that is one of the most important parameters that you look for. The elevation and ultimately the temperature of the area. If you look at most of the areas that that cultivate Irish potato, you'd have realized that most of those areas are rain-fed. Based on their elevation, they depend on a lot of rainfall. So that is why whenever we don't have a good amount of rainfall in the Irish season, then you can expect that the yields and also the quality of the yields will also be subpar. Another thing we want to look at is the land prep. So first, weed management start at land prep. So once you have a good weed management, once you have a good weed land preparation, you realize that your objective in terms of weed control is advanced. So you realize that once you plow the land properly, once you do the once you ensure that you have a adequate soil tilt, you realize that you are better able to control your weeds. And it is not a broad brush approach when it comes to land prep, because persons that are located on heavy clay, you'd have realized that your land prep processes can be a little bit more intense compared to the farmers that are in a more sandy soil or in a sandy loam. So you want to ensure that you have adequate land prep, because one of the things with Irish potato, one of the cultural practices that is very important, and we look at that, is molding. So once you reach about 4 weeks, or the plant is about 6 to 8 inches, normally about 4 weeks after germination, then you start to do your molding. And the better your land prep is, the more easier it is to mold. And molding can also determine the quantity and also the quality that you get. So you want to ensure that you have a good land prep. As it regards to drainage, as I said, the crop is planted predominantly in the rainy season. So once it's Irish potato season, you are going to have a lot of rainfall. When you have a lot of rainfall, you want to ensure that you have drainage to remove those excess moisture, excess water from rushing through the production zone. So you want peripheral drainage, removing water from the production zone, and you want internal drainage, removing water that rain in the production zone. So you want both peripheral and internal drainage. Because once you do have proper drainage, you realize that you lose a lot of soil erosion, and also leaching, which is the washing away of nutrients. So you want to ensure that you instill proper drainage in your site that you are going to establish your Irish potato. So before we go into fertilizer, there are some questions that from time to time we ask ourselves, and one might say, why would you want to use fertilizers in your Irish potato production? And the simple answer to that is really three compartments. So one, you want to supplement the natural elements in the soil, natural nutrient elements. You want to compensate for nutrient remove, and you want to improve unfavorable factors of the soil. So not all farmers have the luxury to really plant one crop here, and then next season they move to another section and plant another crop. Some farmers probably just have 2 acres of land to their disposal, or 1 acre of land. So they do their crop rotation on that piece of land. When you have a situation like that, you realize that every time you establish a crop into the field, nutrients and minerals are extracted. So the addition of fertilizers allow you to compensate for those removed nutrients. If you don't engage the process of adding back nutrients to the soil, what you will realize is that you start off at a high in terms of your yield, and as you progress, growing season after growing season, you realize that your yields start to take a nosedive. So that is why we implore compensation of nutrients removed from the soil. And of course, you want to improve unfavorable conditions of the soil. So in some of our fertilizers, we include what we call soil ameliorants. And when I say soil ameliorants, it's just a fancy word to say something that condition the soil and allow the soil to in a state so that the plant can easily, seamlessly extract nutrients and water from it. So for example, our fertilizer starter has a soil ameliorant in it in the form of humic acid. And we have other soil ameliorants that we had to add to our fertilizers. So it is just an ingredient to improve the plant ability to extract nutrients from the soil. Oh, and I included this pictorial just to give you an idea of what it is if you continually extracting nutrients from the soil and you don't replenish or compensate for those removed nutrients. So you realize that you have a bank account with $100,000. January you take 20, February you take 20, March you take 20, and you keep taking money from that account and not replenishing that money. And you realize that by June, your account is empty. So this goes to show that while you are removing nutrients from the soil, the onus is on you to add back those nutrients by virtue of using fertilizers. Once you decide on the type of fertilizer that you're going to use, you want to look at what is inside your bag of fertilizers. And the inside a bag of fertilizers, more often time, there are classifications of nutrients inside the bag. So you have both micronutrients and you have both macronutrients. As the name suggests, macronutrients are nutrients that are needed in larger quantities compared to micronutrients. So macronutrients is nitrogen, phosphorus, and macronutrients are nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. You have secondary macronutrients that are calcium, magnesium, and sulfur. And of course, our micronutrients are like our iron, your zinc, our boron, and copper, and so on. So all these nutrients work in concert to allow the plants to carry out different processes. So when you talk about early root development, early shoot development, the plant is expanding its canopy. The plant, we have cell elongation, we have cell division. If it's a plant that goes through a flowering process, the plant is flowering. We have a flower set, then we have a fruit set, then you have at the same time the plant is putting on new leaves. So it is really a lot of processes happening simultaneously. So once you have a situation like this, you want to be able to supply those nutrients to the plant so it can carry out a different process so seamlessly. Traditionally, fertilizers used to just consist of 3 nutrients: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And that is why as a company, we have invested in developing improved blends, which we will look at. We have a specific blend for Irish potato, and also our flagship program, which is our precise nutrient management system, which we will look at. What these facilitate is not just inclusion of your nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, but we take it a little step further where we include secondary macronutrients. So we have blends with our calcium or sulfur, magnesium, and also our micronutrients: iron, zinc, boron, manganese, copper, molybdenum. So we know that in order for a plant to carry out its different functions, It needs more than just NPK. So with that said, we went ahead and we added these nutrients inside the bag. So we are trying to move away from traditional way of applying fertilizers, which is just an NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. For the farmers who use sulfate of ammonia, they get a little sulfur there. But otherwise, from those 4 or 5 nutrients, we realize that plants need calcium, magnesium, iron, boron, those micronutrients. And to be honest with you, even though those micronutrients are needed in smaller quantities, if they are missing out of your nutrient program and they are lacking in the soil, that can be a factor which allows you to get 10,000 pounds of Irish per acre compared to 25 or 30,000 pounds. Just the missing part of micronutrients. For example, when you look at zinc, zinc is a micronutrient. Traditionally, zinc is not found in traditional fertilizer. So a lot of farmers, if you ask them what fertilizer they normally use and they're Irish, they will tell you a blend that does not constitute of zinc. When you look on the function of zinc, here we have the function of zinc, we have here that it's the formation of auxin. So auxin is a plant hormone that is responsible for cell elongation. So you know, once you are growing, just like human beings, just as in plants, once you are growing, the cells start to divide and you have cell division, you have cell elongation. So if your nutrient program is lacking, for example, zinc, your soil is lacking zinc, that can have a bearing effect on the plant being stunted. You realize that the Irish potato germinates, but in terms of that rapid shoot system that you should have been developed, and also that root system, you don't achieve that. And then you might be saying it's nitrogen, it's phosphorus, it's potassium, but sometimes the missing element can be a micronutrient. So as a company, we are aware of that, and we know the implications that these missing nutrient can have on your yields and productivity. So we went ahead and we incorporated these nutrients inside the fertilizers. So once you apply these fertilizers, right away, you'll be applying your micronutrients, you'll be applying your secondary macronutrients, you'll be applying your macronutrients. So your plants will be more equipped, have more tools to carry out it different functions. If you look on your screen now, what I put together here is a 6-stage, 5-stage rather, 5 typical stage that the Irish potato goes through. So you have stage 1, which is sprouting. Sprouting is basically the seed stuff. You realize that you realize that the root mass start to expand. The plant is pulling for more nutrients, thus it starts to expand its root system. And then we have tuber initiation. That is where the tuber start to initiate, the tuber start to develop. You have tuber development. That is where the tuber start to bulk, it start to put on its elongation, it start to form its shape, and then you have maturation. That is the bulking process that coming up closer to 12 weeks. So these are the distinctive stage that Irish potato goes through. Under each stage, one thing you can notice is that for each stage, the nutrients, as the plant move from one stage to the next stage, you realize that the nutrient demand start to go up. So for instance, if you look at, for instance, potassium. Potassium is the one with K. Potassium is this one here. If you look at right above bulking, tuber maturation, you realize that the potassium level is at its highest. The potassium start to peak right as the plant grow, but you realize that it reached its highest point at tuber maturation. So this tuber start to mature, it starts to store food, and the plant start to pull for potassium. I specifically added this chart to show you, to bring two things to light. One, how the nutrients, how plants demand NPK, specifically Irish potato, and also to show the importance of nutrient application in terms of timing. What do I mean? There are certain specific stages throughout the crop life where the plant requires a specific amount of a particular nutrient. If in your nutrient program, you don't supply that amount at that time, that can have a bearing implication on your yield. For example, if you look on the chart at bulking, you realize that the demand for potassium goes up. If in your nutrient program you have your highest supply of potassium before the plant required or after that stage, what you are really realize is that your nutrient supply does not match the plant demand. And that is one of the aim of a sound nutrient program. You want your nutrient program to match the demand of the plant. When the plant wants it, that's when you want to put it on. For nitrogen, you'd have realized that at the vegetative growth, vegetative development, the nitrogen is at high. That is when you'd want to supply your nitrogen. So I say this to say that whenever the plants demand X amount of a particular nutrient, that is when you want your nutrient program to be supplying that particular nutrient. So once the plant demand is there, you want your nutrient program to be supplying that. With that said, we designed 2 blends for Irish potato. So we have the fertilizer starter and the fertilizer finisher. So both blends constitute of NPK. When I say NPK, I mean nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. In both blends, there are secondary macronutrients and there are micronutrients. Let's start with the fertilizer starter. So the fertilizer starter have an NPK ratio of 13, 15, 13. Sorry, 13, 15, 13. And we also added sulfur, we added zinc, we added boron, and we added iron. If you realize that otherwise from the NPK, the 13, 15, 13, we added other nutrients at the end. If you compare that to a traditional blend, so traditionally a farmer used to start off Irish with, some farmers start with 14, 28, 14. Some farmers start with 11, 22, 22. Those fertilizers constitute of only 3 nutrients. We know that plants require more than 3 nutrients. So we went ahead and we formulated the fertilizer starter. And we added the NPK, just as in traditional blend, and we added macronutrients. I want you to bear in mind that these blends that we formulate for Irish potato were done based off soil testing. So, as I said, our flagship program is Precise Nutrient Management System. We know that there are some farmers that will never do a soil test. So, over the years, we collected soil tests from the main potato growing areas. When we talk about Manchester, we talk about St. Ann, we talk about St. Mary, we talk about St. Catherine. We collected soil sample, years of soil sample across those zones. And then we formulate, we look at the soil samples, we look at where we have any consistency, we look at where we have any variation, and we formulated these blends. So these blends were made of soil testing. And what we realize is that based on that ratio and these nutrients added in the bag, potato favors that in the starting process. So we went ahead and we put these blends in the fertilizer starter. We even push it a little further, and we added what we call a soil ameliorant. So if you remember in the early part of the presentation, I said a soil ameliorant is anything that conditions the soil to allow the plants to more seamlessly extract nutrients and water. So we added humic acid to the fertilizer starter. So it's a 13-15-13, sulfur, zinc, boron, iron, and we also added the humic acid. Benefits of humic acid: it helps break up compacted soil, it enhances water retention, it increases seed germination. So all these are benefits that you get not just from the humic acid as a standalone product, but it is incorporated into the fertilizer starter. I also included these pictures to show you that the effects of micronutrient deficiency. So on your screen is to the left, my left, probably your right, is zinc deficiency. So you realize that you see stunting, you see spotted on stem, leaf irregular shape. All those are signs and symptoms of micronutrient deficiency. Look at boron, look at the potato, look at the tuber itself. So what we are saying is that if you were cultivating on a soil that was low in boron, you are using a traditional blend that has no boron in it, then what you are saying to me is that the yield and the quality that you will be getting would be looking like something on your screen, because all these pictures on your screen are signs and symptoms of boron deficiency. So in order to have the crop perform into its full potential, there has to be micronutrients and macronutrients accounted for. Iron deficiency is another common reoccurring decimals. You realize that your younger leaves start to show yellowing, and once you have limited iron available to the plant, you realize that your tubers become small. So I specifically added the micronutrients to the deficiency section just to show you how important micronutrients are. Even though they are needed in very small quantity, they are just as important. After 30 days, or right about 30 days, or when the plant is about 6 to 8 inches, you come back with what we call the fertilizer finisher. So you start with the fertilizer starter, and at 30 days, or when the plants reach 6 to 8 inches above the soil, you come back with your fertilizer finisher at molding. So right as you are molding the potato, you mold it with the fertilizer finisher. It's an NPK blend, and also we added sulfur, which is a secondary macronutrient. If you remember when I started this presentation, I made mention about the correct timing when you are applying fertilizers. And there is 4 R's that govern nutrient management system. And this is something I really want you to pay attention to. The 4 R's of nutrient management is the right source, the right rate, the right time, the right place. I'm going to go over that again. The right source would speak to, are you using the right fertilizer? The right rate would speak to, are you using enough or are you using too much of the right fertilizer? The right time, which I spoke about earlier, are you putting on nutrients based on the crop demand and the right place? Are you applying the fertilizers correctly? Any missing part of these 4 R's can have negative implication on your yield. So we're going to start with the right source. The right source is the fertilizer. What makes the fertilizer the right source? It's a combination of NPK, and also, as I said, it constitutes of micronutrients and a soil amelioratant. It is also chlorine-free because probably a lot of farmers might not know that Irish potato is one of those crops that is very sensitive to chlorine. Like avocado is another crop. Pear is another crop that is also sensitive to chlorine. So knowing that, we ensure that our potassium source that we use in the fertilizer does not have chlorine as an ingredient. So these are some of the things that we ensure that these blends are fitted for your Irish. As I said, these blends were done under rigorous testing. I will show you some of the demonstration. I will show you some of the results that we have got from using these blends. And I will show you where some farmers were prior to the incorporation of the fertilizer and where most of those farmers are now in terms of yields. The fertilizer, the right rate. So the fertilizer starter, you use 2 bags. That's 250 kg bags per acre. If you want to write that down, you can write that down. The right rate is 250 kg bag of the fertilizer starter at planting. When you are molding 30 days after, or when the plant reaches 6 to 8 inches, you use 5 bags of the fertilizer finisher. 5 at molding, 2 at planting. So in total, you use 7 bags per acre. Right time at planting. So right as you put in the seed, some farmers put it beside the potato seed. Some farmers put the fertilizer first. They cover it with a little soil and then they put the seed on top. One thing you want to ensure when you are doing that is that the fertilizer does not come in direct contact with the potato seed. So you put it beside the potato seed, or you put the fertilizer first. You put some soil over it and then you put the seed on top. When you are molding, you incorporate the fertilizer in the mold that you are making up on the plant. And you want to ensure that the plant is molded properly. As I said, it is a cultural practice that a lot of our farmers don't take as much time to ensure that the potato is molded properly. And once the potato is not molded, you realize that the potato will start to show a little green shade, which is a concentration of chlorophyll, which can be toxic. So you want to ensure that when you are molding the potato, it is molded properly and high. The higher the mold, the better able you are to protect the tubers in terms of their quality, prevent greening, and also it gives you a better uniformity of the tubers. So when you are molding, you're molding with 5 bags per acre of the fertilizer finisher. The right place, as I said, ensure that the potato doesn't come in direct contact with the fertilizer starter when you are planting. All right, what you have on the screen now is just a comparison. So on my right is the traditional blend, On the left is the improved blend. So traditionally farmers plant with their 14-28-14. And what we are proposing is the fertilizer starter. So, sorry. So if you look at first glance, if you look on a blend that to the right, traditional blend, the 14-28-14, remember I said it constitutes of just 3 nutrients. Look on the blend to the left. It constitutes of those 3 same nutrients as well as secondary macronutrients and the soil ameliorant. So farmers, when you are using traditional blends, what you are basically saying is that the plant, in order for you to get a good tuber, in order for you to get a uniform tuber, in order for you to get 25,000 or 30,000 pounds from the acre, you're telling me that the plant only require 3 nutrients. That is basically what you are saying, you know. Because those traditional blends that you used to use, that you are using, consist of only those 3 nutrients. What we added to the fertilizer starter, as I said, is more than those 3 nutrients. So we are moving away from the traditional blend and we are proposing an improved blend. The fertilizer finisher is the same thing. So it's an NPK, but we added sulfur to it as well. And that is what we are proposing to replace the traditional blend used on molding. And then if you look at the traditional regime, some farmers, they plant with 14-28-14. And then at molding, some farmers come back with the same 14-28-14, or they start off with the 15-5-35. All right, this is probably one of the most important parts of the presentation tonight. And this is the testimony. This is the result. This is the byproduct. This is the this is the achievement from the potato line. So it's one thing to say something to a farmer, but when you can have data, data is very important. Data is a very powerful tool. When you can not just tell somebody something, but you can show them. You can show them something that is possible. They are doing something for years. They have a set procedure to do it. And that set procedure gives them a set yield. When you can show them that just by moving this, just by adding this, just by stop doing that, you can be more successful. And that is what we did with these farmers. And this list is by no means exhausted. Just by the interest of time, I try to tailor the table so that I can fit in some of the demonstration plan. So let's start with Einstein. Before the farmer started using the fertilizer, he used to use traditional blends. He was getting 13,000. After the fertilizer, he started getting 17,000, that 4,000 acres, 4,000 pounds per acre. St. Mary, we did it in Goshen. Farmer was getting 9,000. Now he's getting 16,000. That's 7,000 pounds per acre of Irish potato in terms of increase. We go down to Chudley in Manchester. Manchester is a little bit higher than the other production area. He was getting 11,000 pounds. And this is something I want you to look at, because that farmer in Manchester that was getting 11,000 pounds, and that one in Devon that was getting 13,000 pounds. Sometimes, as a farmer, we are, in the grand scheme of things, or I should say, in your surrounding, you can be doing well. So say if that farmer in Devon and Chudley had conversation with that farmer in Goshen, St. Mary, he would have saying he's getting 11,000 and the other one was saying getting 13,000. So he would have felt like he's doing well compared to the one in Goshen. But little did they know that they still, even though they are getting 13,000 pounds, it still can be more using less fertilizer and a better blend in terms of nutrient application. So they were getting 13,000 pounds, one was getting 11,000 pounds. When they started using the fertilizer, they realized that they push up their yield from 13,000 to 16,500 in both areas. So if you look at the guy in St. Mary, you notice that the guy in St. Mary was way behind with 9,000, way behind the guy in Manchester, both of the guys in Manchester. But if you realize that after they start using the fertilizer, all three of the farmers were almost on the same level. And that guy in St. Mary might have had conversation, who knows, and say he don't know what those guys are doing to get such high yield. Little did he know the fix to his situation was just the fertilizer, and now he's getting 16,000. The guy in St. Elizabeth, he was getting 10,000. Now he's getting 16,000. We go all the way to Westmoreland. The guy was getting 12,000 and now he's getting 16,000. And I could go on and on with these results. But the picture that I want to paint is that traditionally, how we used to apply fertilizers and how we used to cater for nutrient demand, the science proves that we need to do more than that to get certain yields. When I say do more, I don't mean use more fertilizers. I mean using better quality fertilizer in terms of supplying nutrients, better option. So you are not just putting on a straight NPK, you are putting on more nutrient. So when you look at a bag of fertilizer, it has more nutrient in it. So the plant is exposed to more elements, nutrient elements. And once it has more nutrient elements, the plant is able to grow faster, to carry out different processes and store sugars better. Once you have the plant storing more sugars, you have better tubers, you have better quality, and you have better quantity. Once you another thing that we want to look at is our liquid line. So the fertilizer starter is the granular application. So it's a two-time application. You have the starter and you have the finisher. After you apply the granular fertilizers, what we propose is foliar application. So we have when you are adding your pesticide, for example, your first strike or your clearway, which is a fungicide, you can cocktail those pesticides with what we call liquid fertilizers or what we call Maniplex. So the Maniplex is a line of liquid fertilizer that we offer here at Newport First Sun. It's a family of liquid fertilizers. So in that family, you have the plant start, you have the Maniplex for veg, you have the Maniplex potassium, the Maniplex boron, the calcium, zinc, manganese, iron. We're not saying that if you are growing Irish potato, you need all those Maniplex. But what we are saying is that foliar fertilizer is very important in Irish production. When you talk about your Maniplex potassium when you are bulking, when you talk about your Maniplex zinc, your Maniplex iron, your Maniplex calcium, your Maniplex for veg, all those nutrients can be incorporated when you are applying your foliar pesticide. So when you're applying your fungicide, when you're applying your insecticide, you can cocktail those inside your container. What it allows the plant to be more accessible to these micronutrients and also macronutrients. So for example, the Maniplex iron, the Maniplex zinc, the maniplex boron. All those are micronutrients that are needed in the plant tissues to carry out different functions. So you're putting on a granular fertilizer and you're also supplementing in terms of liquid fertilizers and supplying these micronutrients and also macronutrients. So you have your fertilizer starter, fertilizer finisher. Those are the right source for the right source for the right rate. It's 2 bags per acre of the fertilizer starter and 5 bags per acre of the fertilizer finisher. For the right time, it's 2 bags per acre of the fertilizer starter at planting and 5 bags per acre of the fertilizer finisher at molding or 4 weeks or when the plant reaches 6 to 8 inches, whichever one occurs first. In terms of the right place, rule of thumb, you never want to have your fertilizer coming in direct contact with the seeds. So that is the 4 R's of nutrient management in Irish potato production. Once you put on your granular fertilizers, you supplement those fertilizers with foliar spray, the maniplex. So you have the maniplex plant start, which is a NPK liquid fertilizer. You have the maniplex vegetable, which is a cocktail of nutrients. You have the maniplex potassium, the maniplex boron, the maniplex calcium. Calcium is one of those nutrients that build the cell walls of the plant. It builds the turgidity of the tuber. It gives you a nice shaped in tuber with nice texture. You have the maniplex zinc, the maniplex magnesium, the maniplex iron. All those are foliar supplements that that can be cocktail in the mix. I know you have questions to ask. I know you have query. Maybe you are doing some land prep and you want to voice on a query. Ajahn will take the poll, and then afterwards we will address the question. So you can administer the poll, Ajahn.
Yeah, thank you, Nigel. Good evening again, farmers. Hope you enjoyed that session. So now we'll be conducting a poll to ascertain your review on this presentation so we can improve for future presentations. They're just 7 questions. We're just asking for 5 minutes of your time to run through them, and then we'll move straight into the question and answer section. You can, while you wait, you can also send your questions in the chat, and we'll have Nigel answer the questions in the next 5 minutes. All right. So we're just asking for 5 minutes of your time to answer the questions. You should be seeing the training evaluation poll on your screens right now. Thank you. Okay, so we have 1 more minute for the poll, and it will move right into the question and answer section. I see your questions in the chat. We'll get to them as soon as the poll is finished. Okay, so all participants are finished, so we'll move right into the question and answer section. All right, thank you to those that participated. Our technical sales consultant is bigging up Nigel, saying, "Good job. The session was very informative and well executed content. Thank you." Kevin Barrett asked, "How much to do a soil test?" That's $50 US. The next question is, when is the best time to plant? Nigel, can you answer that question?
Yes, so in terms of the planting, as I said, the Irish potato is planted in the rainy season. Normally it commences at late September, early October, and it runs to about February. January, February, some places going to March. And what I wanted to bear in mind, there are some areas in Manchester, for example, some areas of Christiana, those high elevation areas that have a wider gap or a wider window to plant Irish potato, mainly because a lot of those areas have what we call a microclimate. So they realize that they get cooler temperatures for a longer period of time throughout the year. You want to have an Irish potato grows best in an average temperature about 18 to 19 degrees Celsius. So once you have your temperature along that wavelength, then you'll be able to grow it. But for traditional areas like St. Anne, St. Mary, St. Catherine, those areas normally grow in the rainy season from about October to about February, January, February.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I'm not seeing any more questions in the chat, so I'm gonna open up the mics. So if there's anyone that wants to speak directly to Nigel, you can raise your hands and I will unmute you to ask your question. Okay? Is there anyone interested in asking a question? You may also send your questions to the chat. Okay. I'm not seeing any questions at the moment. Okay. Seeing as though we're not seeing any more questions at the moment, we'll take this time to close the session. So I'd like to say thank you for everyone that joined us tonight. If you're interested in learning more about Irish potato production, I implore you to look in the chat. There's a link to our YouTube channel that has a recording of our very own Nigel Panton discussing Irish potato production and productivity during yesterday's YouTube channel. For anyone that is looking for more information on the fertilizer, you can also check our website. I'm leaving a link in the chat here where you'll see more information on the fertilizer, including the 4 R's of nutrient management. Thank you for joining. Nigel, can you close us out?
Yes, thank you, Johnny. So I just want to remind our farmers that each of our parishes have an assigned agronomist and technical sales consultant. Both of those individuals are equipped with certain knowledge about the crop, with in terms of the fertilizer starter that I just mentioned in the presentation, both the fertilizer starter and the finisher. If your farm store doesn't bring it, That's not an excuse to not use the product based on the tremendous achievement that we have been getting from the product. As I said, our phone lines are open. Whichever parish you are in, there we have a representative in that working in that parish who is responsible for that parish. So don't just look to the farm store. You can reach out to us if it's not in the farm store, and we can get it to you. And another thing that I wanted to bear in mind, don't think about the quantity. If it's 2 bags you need, if it's 1 bag you need, we can make arrangement and work out something for you in terms of getting the product to you. All right, so feel free to reach out to us if you are planting Irish potato and you need the Irish potato lizer. We have it here, and we would want you to reap these benefits that our farmers have been reaping in other parishes and other areas of the island that have been planting Irish potato for years. So reach out to us and we can get the product to you. If you have any questions or query, if you have need any assistance, any consultation in terms of any segment of the operation, straight from land prep, straight to harvest, you can reach out to us as well. And we can schedule a field visit and we come and assess the operation. All right. So that's it from my end. So I want to wish you guys a good night and walk good.